Maya Jones had perfected the art of invisibility. At Northwood High, she was the girl who ate lunch alone on the bench outside the library, the one who gave one-word answers in history class, the one whose name barely registered in anyone's memory. With her hair pulled back in a simple braid and her second-hand backpack slung over one shoulder, she moved through the hallways like a gentle breeze, present but unnoticed. But what her classmates didn't know could fill volumes. 30 miles away, in a dojo that smelled of sweat and polished pine, Maya Jones was something else entirely. For 8 years, since a brutal bout of childhood teasing had left her sobbing and broken, she had been training in Shotokan karate. What started as her parents' desperate attempt to build her confidence had become her sanctuary, her strength, her secret identity. By 14, she was winning regional tournaments. By 16, she had become the 2-time undefeated state champion in her weight class. Her sensei, a stern but graceful man named Master Yamato, called her Shizukana Arashi, the silent storm. In the dojo, her movements were poetry and physics combined. Every block, every strike, every kick was a perfect equation of power and control. Her knuckles bore the calluses of a warrior. Her muscles held memories of thousands of repetitions, and the trophy case at the dojo gleamed with golden testaments to her ferocious discipline. At school, though, she was just Maya, quiet Maya, invisible Maya. It was a conscious choice, a pact she had made with her parents and herself. She wanted normalcy, a life where she wasn't defined by her strength. She wanted to be seen as just another girl trying to survive high school. But normalcy, she would soon learn, requires the cooperation of everyone around you. And some people, she would discover, only understand one language: power. Part 2. The fall. The first sensation was the cold, a shocking, unforgiving chill seeping through the thin fabric of her shirt as her shoulder, then her cheek, met the unyielding linoleum of the senior hallway. Then came the sound, a sickening wet thud of flesh and bone against hard floor, followed by the chaotic scatter of papers, the sharp clatter of her binder bursting open, and the tiny skitter of pens rolling away like frightened insects. But the sound that truly shattered the air, that made the fluorescent lights seem to buzz with cruel intensity, was the laughter. It wasn't just one laugh. It was a cascade, led by the sharp, braying horn of mockery that belonged to Jake Thompson, the Golden Boy quarterback whose blue and yellow varsity jacket might as well have been a crown. His shadows, Liam and Cody, echoed his amusement with sycophantic chuckles. Maya lay there for a moment that stretched into eternity. The gritty texture of the floor pressed against her skin. She could smell the industrial cleaner, the faint scent of sweat from hundreds of passing students, and the distinct aroma of her own humiliation. Her biology textbook lay splayed open beside her head, showing a diagram of a dissected frog, its insides exposed for all to see. She felt a kinship with that frog. "Whoa, watch your step, clumsy." Jake's voice dripped with practiced condescension as he deliberately stepped over her scattered homework. Her Shakespeare essay, the one she'd spent all weekend perfecting, now bore the dusty imprint of his expensive white sneakers. He stood over her not as a person but as an institution. His blonde hair caught the harsh light. He was the star, the king, and she was just lint on his royal robe. Maya didn't cry. She didn't shout. She simply began gathering her things, her movements slow and deliberate. When her eyes met Jake's, he actually flinched. He'd expected tears. Instead, he found a cool, flat assessment, the look a hawk gives a field mouse before the dive. Part 3. Digital cruelty. The video spread like wildfire. Jake Pone's The Quiet Girl went viral across the school's social networks within hours. For one brutal day, Maya was infamous. The quiet humiliation she had endured for years was now amplified, digitized, and permanent. The teachers, as always, were willfully blind. Mr. Davies, the biology teacher whose class she'd been late for, simply sighed and said, "Try to be more careful, Maya. Hallways are for walking, not lounging." Jake's father sat on the school board and was the largest donor to the new football field. Jake was golden, untouchable, and the bullying, emboldened by its digital success, evolved into a focused, insidious campaign. Her locker was found stuffed with crumpled paper, the word freak scrawled across it in black marker. One day, her lunch tray was accidentally bumped from her hands, sending spaghetti and chocolate milk across the cafeteria floor, a modern-day scarlet letter made of marinara. Whispers of clumsy weirdo followed her like toxic mist. Through it all, Maya's silence was her armor. But at home, in the sanctuary of the dojo, her training became something else. It was no longer about technique, it was about catharsis. Her katas, the prearranged sequences of movement, were performed with terrifying intensity. When she struck the makiwara pad, the hardened straw post used for conditioning, each impact was a statement. Thwack for the shove, thwack for the laughter, thwack for the pity in people's eyes. Her knuckles were raw, her muscles screamed, but the fire inside burned brighter. One evening, Master Yamato watched her after everyone else had left. "Maya," he said, his voice calm but firm, "your technique is perfect, but your spirit is clouded with anger. Anger is a flame. It can forge a weapon or burn the hand that wields it. The true warrior draws her sword only when the path of peace has been completely eroded, and only to restore balance, to protect, not to punish." Part 4. The Challenge. The pivotal moment arrived at the fall pep rally. The entire student body was packed into the sweltering gym, a cacophony of shrieks, stomping feet, and the blaring school fight song. The air was thick with the smell of popcorn, sweat, and cheap perfume. Jake Thompson was, of course, the sun around which this noisy universe revolved. During a series of games designed to humiliate teachers and selected students, Principal Evans called for volunteers. Jake's eyes scanned the bleachers with predatory glee and found his target. He pointed straight at Maya, who was trying to become one with the metal bleachers, her book a shield in front of her face. "Let's really get this spirit going," Jake boomed into the microphone. "How about we see what the quiet ones can do? Come on down, don't be shy. Let's see if you can stay on your feet for this one." The crowd roared its approval, a mindless, joyous beast. Maya's blood ran cold, then instantly boiled. She remembered Master Yamato's words, "The path of peace has been completely eroded." She closed her book, she stood, and she walked down the bleachers, each step feeling like descending into an arena. The challenge was classic: break a 1-inch thick pine board with your hand. Mr. Gable, the wood shop teacher, held it steady. Jake went first, making a huge production of it, rolling his shoulders, shaking out his hands, playing to the crowd. He took a wild roundhouse swing, more suited to a bar fight than martial arts. The board cracked messily, splinters flying. The gym erupted. He held the two pieces over his head like trophies, a triumphant gladiator. Then it was Maya's turn. The snickers were audible as she stepped forward. "Okay, Maya," Dr. Evans joked, "you might need a running start." She ignored him. The world narrowed to the board in Mr. Gable's hands. The noise faded into a distant, muffled roar. Her breathing slowed, becoming deep and rhythmic. Her feet settled into a natural, balanced stance, Zenkutsu Dacha, so subtle most wouldn't notice the shift. She wasn't Maya the victim. She was a vessel for 8 years of discipline. Part 5. The Awakening. Her right hand formed a perfect shutto, a knife hand. There was no wind-up, no theatricality, just a simple, explosive extension of her body, a straight line from her core to the center of the board. The sound it made was not a crack. It was a deafening, conclusive snap that cut through the noise of the gym like a gunshot. The board didn't just break. It seemed to disintegrate into 2 perfectly clean pieces that clattered to the floor with a resonant thud. The silence was immediate and profound. It was a physical presence, heavy and shocking. 1,000 faces once contorted with mindless cheer were now frozen in disbelief. Teachers on the stage stared, mouths agape. Jake's triumphant smile melted away, replaced by slack-jawed shock. He looked from the broken pieces to the quiet girl who had done it with an efficiency that mocked his messy effort. Maya didn't smile. She didn't raise her arms. She simply brought her hands to her sides, bowed slightly to a stunned Mr. Gable, her face an unreadable mask of calm. Then she turned and walked back to her seat. The sea of students parted for her, not with confusion as before, but with a new, odd, and slightly fearful respect. A single word was whispered from one person to another, a ripple becoming a wave. Karate. The aftermath was seismic. The video "Quiet Girl Destroys Jake Thompson" went viral, surpassing the original bullying video in views and comments. Overnight, Maya was no longer a ghost. She was a mystery, a legend. But for Jake, the humiliation was poison. A shy, quiet black girl had publicly dismantled his image of invincibility. The whispers in the hallways were no longer just about her, they were about him. Did you see his face? She made him look so weak. His pride, the foundation of his entire existence, was cracking. And pride, when wounded, becomes dangerous. Part 6. The Reckoning Approaches. The week following the pep rally was strange. Maya walked through hallways that now parted before her like the Red Sea. Students who'd never acknowledged her existence now nodded respectfully. Some even smiled. Sarah Miller from art class started sitting with her at lunch, tentatively at first, asking questions about karate not as a weapon, but as an art. But Jake Thompson's world was crumbling. His friends still laughed at his jokes, but the laughter rang hollow. His girlfriend, Brittany, had started asking uncomfortable questions. Is it true she's some kind of champion? The football team, once his devoted followers, now whispered when he walked by. The power structure he'd built his entire identity upon was shifting, and he couldn't stand it. Maya noticed the change in him, the way his jaw clenched when he saw her, the way his hands balled into fists, the way Liam and Cody flanked him more closely now, as if providing armor. She recognized the signs. She'd seen them in countless sparring matches at the dojo. He was a wounded animal, and wounded animals were the most dangerous. She tried to stay alert to avoid confrontation. She changed her routes through the hallways, left class a minute early or late to miss the crowds. But she knew, deep in her warrior's instinct, that confrontation was inevitable. Master Yamato had warned her during their last training session. "You have revealed your true self," he said, his weathered hands adjusting her stance. "Some will respect this. Others will see it as a challenge. Remember, Maya, the strongest warrior is the one who never has to fight. But when fighting becomes unavoidable, you must be absolute in your resolve and measured in your response. Neutralize the threat, nothing more." She had nodded, understanding his words intellectually. But understanding something and experiencing it are two different things entirely. The storm clouds were gathering, and Maya could feel the electricity in the air. Something was coming, and she would need every ounce of her training to face it with grace and control. Part 7. The Final Stand. It happened in the same hallway, as if the universe demanded symmetrical justice. Jake cornered her by the lockers, his face a twisted mask of rage and wounded ego. Liam and Cody flanked him, their usual smirks replaced by grim determination. The crowd gathered instantly, a hungry audience sensing a climax. Phones were raised, recording dots glowing like predators' eyes. "You think you're so tough now," Jake spat, his voice low and venomous. "You made me look like a joke in front of the whole school." He shoved her shoulder hard, an aggressive push meant to intimidate, meant to knock her down like he had before, to reassert the natural order. "I don't want any trouble, Jake," Maya said clearly, her voice carrying in the sudden hush. It was the first time many had heard her speak with purpose, and the authority in it was startling. "It's a little late for that," he snarled, shoving her again, harder, putting his whole body into it. But Maya didn't budge. Her root was deep, her stance immovable. It was so fast, so fluid, less a fight than a demonstration. Her left arm came up in a rising block, age uke, not to stop his force but to redirect it, guiding his energy harmlessly past her. Simultaneously, her right leg executed a perfect sweeping to Ashibari, hooking behind his forward ankle. She used his own aggression, his own weight, his own momentum. One moment he was the aggressor. The next, he was airborne, his body parallel to the floor for a breathtaking second, before he landed on his back with a loud, breath-stealing whump. The collective gasp from the crowd was pure, unadulterated shock. Liam lunged forward instinctively, grabbing for her arm. Maya didn't flinch. She pivoted on the ball of her foot, her body a whirlwind of controlled motion. Her right hand shot out in a sharp, open-handed strike, Shadow Uche, to the nerve cluster on his shoulder. It wasn't meant to break bone, but to send a debilitating shock down his arm. Liam cried out, his grip releasing as his arm fell uselessly to his side. He stumbled back, colliding with Cody, whose will to fight evaporated on the spot. The entire exchange took less than 5 seconds. 3 moves, 3 threats neutralized. No fists thrown, no kicks launched, just precise, devastating efficiency. Part 8, The Silent Victory. Maya stood over Jake, who was wheezing, trying to draw air back into his lungs. She didn't look triumphant. She looked resolved. The storm had passed. "I said I didn't want any trouble," she repeated, her voice calm but carrying undeniable power. "The next time you touch me, I won't be so polite. My dojo teaches self-defense, but my sensei also taught me that once the threat is neutralized, the fight is over. You are neutralized, Jake." Then she slowly turned her head, her dark eyes scanning the circle of phones, meeting each lens one by one. "And for everyone filming this," she added, a flicker of something sharp and knowing in her gaze, "I hope you got my good side." She turned and walked away, not with haste, but with quiet, unshakable dignity. She left behind a silence more powerful than any applause and a legend that would be told for years to come. The videos titled "The Quiet Girl Destroys Bullies" exploded online. They were picked up by local news, featured on martial arts blogs, discussed on anti-bullying forums. She was hailed as a hero, a symbol of standing up for yourself with grace and strength. Jake, Liam, and Cody were suspended. The school implemented a serious anti-bullying program, but more importantly, a different kind of quiet settled around Maya, not the silence of isolation, but the silence of respect. Students who had never seen her now nodded in the hallways. Sarah became a genuine friend, asking about karate as an art form. Teachers treated her with newfound awareness. The normal life she had craved was gone, but something better had taken its place: authenticity. Maya learned that her strength wasn't just in her ability to defend herself. It was in the courage to stop hiding, to let her light shine so brilliantly that it forced the shadows to retreat. She had walked through fire and emerged not scorched, but tempered, a silent storm that had finally found her voice, not through violence, but through the quiet power of standing firm in who she truly was. Sometimes, she realized, the greatest victory isn't in the fight itself, but in choosing the exact right moment to reveal your strength, and then having the wisdom to walk away, retry.